Hi, I'm Scott Beaulier, Director of the Johnson Center for Political Economy here at Troy University and host of EconVersations. Thank you for tuning in tonight. On tonight's show, we're going to talk about Walmart, good or bad. It's a very controversial corporation, one of the largest in the world. It has a market value that continues to grow. Stores are being added around the country to places that sometimes people don't even want Walmart to come into. And we have a very special guest on our show tonight, a colleague of ours in the Johnson Center, Andrea Dean-Crowley, who's going to talk about Walmart and its effect on small business, its effect on communities, and just overall its effect on welfare. A discussion of Walmart fits in nicely to the themes and mission of the Johnson Center. We're a center interested in free markets, in economic freedom, and how capitalism and businesses interact with people in living good lives. So Andrea, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into Walmart, I just want to talk a little bit first about what you're doing with the center and your background. You're not only a development coordinator for the center and helping us with a number of important special projects, but you're a very accomplished and well-trained economist with a master's degree in economics and a familiarity with the people and the economists that really shape and have influenced the center. So how'd you get into economics, and then we'll continue with how did you get into this Walmart project?
Well, I started my undergraduate career at West Virginia University. I actually started out as an industrial engineering major for about a semester. I did well in my coursework, but it didn't fit. So I decided to go into pre-business, took some courses, and one of the best courses I've probably ever taken was Principles of Macroeconomics with Dr. Russell Sobel, who really turned me on to the ideas of free market principles. I was taking a statistics class at the same time as this macro class, and I had to do a report about something about Democratic presidents and how that affected the economy. And I thought I found an interesting statistical point, so I went up to Dr. Sobel after class and asked him about it. And I guess he was excited to find someone in an undergraduate that was interested in doing research in economics. And I walked away with the job that day as his undergraduate research assistant, and a major was found. One of our colleagues from the Koch Foundation, Mr. Ryan Stowers, calls this crystallization. I was able to find a way of thinking that always fit my way of thinking, and that's the economic way of thinking. So that's where I discovered economics, and I went on to get my master's there as well.
So it just kind of happened by luck in part. You found the right professor at the right time in your career, and just went on to get a master's degree at WVU with Dr. Sobel, and he's your co-author as well on a lot of projects.
Several projects with him.
That's great. Dr. Sobel is a well-trained public choice economist, and did you share like a similar interest in that type of academic work? This idea that government can affect the economy in perverse ways and sometimes beneficial ways.
Yeah, I consider myself a public choice economist, which is the economic theory politicians, and maybe they don't always have society's best interest in mind, that they are people too, and they have their own self-interest in life. So that's definitely where I fall under. I also studied with Dr. Peter Leeson and Dr. Chris Coyne at West Virginia University, so I consider them also very influential economists in my life and practice. And in theory, I'm very influenced by Milton Friedman, his book Free to Choose, and Ayn Rand and her objectivism theories.
Well, we're very spoiled to have you on the staff of the center, and I feel like you're probably using your training in economics a lot in just thinking strategically about how to execute on projects, but also in some of the unique grants that you're applying for, and in some of the development that you're doing in advancing curricular change in the center, and just shaping the direction that we're trying to head. Can you talk a little bit about how economics is helping you in this particular area?
Sure, absolutely. Grant writing is really, really embedded into the economic way of thinking. First of all, you have scarcity. These foundations only have so many resources they can allocate, and they have many more requests coming in than money to give out. So you really have to understand their incentives and what makes them tick and what you can say to them that really sparks their interest, and they think, you know what, you really understand what we're about and you're the ones worth giving money to right now. And then you also have to consider it within your own department, opportunity cost. Is this grant, is this project really going to be worth the time of our faculty member? And competitive advantage is which one of our faculty members is really going to bring the best light to this project. So all sorts of economic way of thinking is integrated into grant writing. Also, from my experience in graduate school, understanding the structure of higher education is very important. When putting together the economics curriculum, you have to know what kind of classes students are going to need, and especially if they want to advance their career to graduate education, they really need to have a strong math background, and supporting that in the curriculum as well. Some of the grants we also write are for postdoctorate positions, so understanding how a postdoctorate fits in to a higher education system is important.
Your background, of course, includes a lot of math and training in statistics as well, and we're going to get into that a bit with the Walmart piece. But as you said, it's very important, and your particular skill set includes a capability in doing econometrics, which is just statistics applied using economic theory and then interpreting data with statistical techniques. Is that something you just picked up along the way as an undergraduate too? And I'm assuming you'd advise kids wanting to go on to graduate school to load up on statistics and math.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If any student has an interest in going on into a graduate career in economics, you have to have a math background. You know, when I was an undergraduate, I didn't want to believe it because I didn't want to have to take Calc 3 and Calc 4, but my advisor pushed it, and when I went into graduate school, it really is important. You need to understand the calculus, the proofs behind all of these economic theories, and more importantly, I think, is statistics and quantitative analysis, understanding how statistics affect each other, how to form a regression analysis, how different variables play together. It's incredibly important. And also self-teaching is important as well. When I started this Walmart research with Dr. Russell Sobel, I had to teach. I was an undergraduate. In fact, I was a junior, and I taught myself spatial econometrics, just opening up the MATLAB guidebook and teaching my way through it. Wow. And figuring out how to create an Excel data set and how to import it into MATLAB and how to actually run a regression. It's complicated, but it's something you need to learn.
Yeah, and certainly it's something that paid off after you learned it and figured out how to use those techniques in applied research, which is this Walmart project. And I want to spend the rest of our time talking about that. You have a number of really fascinating academic articles that you were able to publish in your time at West Virginia. Some of them with Dr. Sobel and Dr. Leeson, and we could get into some of the other ones, which are just really great applied pieces. But I think this Walmart one is particularly fascinating. We're a city that's very dependent on Walmart for a lot of our economic activity. And I hear people all the time complaining about Walmart for a number of different reasons. You know, there are criticisms of the way they treat their employees. There are criticisms about just how vanilla they are. But you get into some of the criticisms of Walmart's effect on other businesses. And what is the criticism of Walmart coming to town?
Well, the best quote I can say is President Clinton's former Secretary of Labor, Robert Reich, has a quote that when Walmart comes to town, downtowns turn into ghost towns. And I think this is the image that most people associate with Walmart coming to town. All the small businesses close up, tumbleweeds blowing down the road, here's some high noon music in the back. They just think it's going to take away all of the creative small businesses in their town, and it's just going to become an evil corporation. But in reality, that's absolutely not true. Morgantown, West Virginia, where I was born and raised and went to school, we have a Walmart downtown. We have a Walmart, and this is our downtown. It's very prosperous. It's very lively. As you can see down the street, we have restaurants, we have clubs, we have ice cream shops, we have a museum, we have a metropolitan theater, we have a high-end restaurant, we have women's boutiques, and these are all made possible to be there because Walmart is in town.
If you look at this, and I'm not sure our viewers will be able to see it, but even chains like Subway are just fitted into old historic-looking buildings in one of these shots that you gave us. So there's clearly an effort here to encourage community and downtown while having Walmart and from what you've told me, some of the other big box stores as well. These stores that take you out of town a little bit too.
Right.
Now, why is this criticism that they're just going to suck up business and prevent vibrant cities? Why is that criticism just off the mark and misleading in your mind?
Well, people just have this feigned misconception that that's what Walmart does to communities. And it's been perpetuated by applied public policy analysis that really they had some flaws in their research. They only looked at counties, they compared counties that had a Walmart and counties that didn't have a Walmart and their averages of self-employment and small businesses. And that's just, they're leaving out so many other factors. And another problem with these public policy analyses is that they factor in direct competitors. So if a Kmart was in town and then it went out of business because of Walmart, well then all those hundreds of people that worked at Kmart are now unemployed. But that's not really what the main argument is. Their main argument is that we're driving out mom and pops. And that is just absolutely not the case because of something called creative destruction. Creative destruction is when a new product or service is introduced and unfortunately leads to the obsolescence of pre-existing services and products. And while that sounds bad at first, it's actually a really good thing. It's welfare enhancing. Think about the horse and buggy business. That was the only thing America knew for a while. And then all of a sudden, we've got the Model T and there's a car. And while that's terrible for our horse breeders and for our buggy makers and our buggy drivers, they're going to be out of business. But society has the car now. They're so much better off. And that's really what Walmart does to communities. They come in, and yes, they are going to put small businesses out. They're going to put their direct competitors out. Hardware stores, five and dimes, those types of places that directly compete with Walmart, they're not going to be able to compete anymore. They just can't provide the economies of scale that Walmart can. But what that does is it allows these now vacant spaces to be filled with more culturally enhancing businesses, such as theaters, such as ice cream shops, such as high women's fashion boutiques, such as restaurants, places that would not have been able to compete when those hardware stores were filling up those spaces. In fact, it's even better because when those hardware stores and those five and dimes were in those spaces, rents were very high because they were very competitive. Walmart drives them out of business, which is, yes, it's very bad, but it's going to bring down rents, allowing entrepreneurs that would not have had that opportunity to come in and create a new business.
So what you're saying here, if I'm understanding correctly, is that there are these applied policy studies that have looked at Walmart and its effect on other big retailers like Kmart, and they're saying that Walmart is displacing Kmart just because of their low prices and the products that they're offering, and not looking at all at the fact that Kmart as a company might just stink. Kmart, from what I can remember, has stunk since at least Rain Man. There's a classic line in Rain Man where he says, "Ray, Kmart stinks," but he uses another word. And I think audiences around the country clapped and laughed when that movie was in the theater a long time ago. And it's been true for Kmart for a long, long time that they don't run a company that controls costs. They've had some management problems, and their products just aren't very good, with the exception of a few. So these analyses aren't taking into account poor management or anything else. They're just saying Walmart destroys jobs.
Exactly. Sometimes businesses deserve to go out.
Yeah.
If you think before Kmart, there was Montgomery Ward. There's just a cycle to these things. Right now it's Walmart. 10 years from now, maybe it's going to be Target that's the evil corporation taking down Walmart. But that's just what happens. Sometimes businesses are just poorly managed and they deserve to go out of business. Now let's not apply that to these mom and pop stores. They might not necessarily deserve to go out of business. They might be really great at service, but they just can't compete with Walmart's lower prices.
Right. When we look at this picture, something from your last comment that occurred to me is that people probably don't even see the linkages between Walmart coming into an area and that store, Walmart, driving a lot of what we see here in the towns. And it's due to what Frederick Bastiat maybe described as an unseen benefit of Walmart, right? So you go to Walmart instead of a mom and pop and you spend $100 instead of $150. And that $50 is what's driving these shops that you were talking about, high-end shoe stores and things like that. It's an unseen benefit that we enjoy from them.
Right. Consumers definitely benefit from Walmart. If we flip to the next slide, we have Walmart, save more, live better. It's a great marketing campaign, but it's also true. The economies of scale which Walmart brings, which allows them to sell the same products but for cheaper prices. Consumers are able to save money. In fact, there was one study that says in the long run, Walmart saves consumers 10%. Wow. And that's a lot of money. And that's a lot of money that they normally had been spending on the same products, but they now can spend on, you know, bringing their kids out to ice cream on Sundays, or going to the theater over the weekend, or going whitewater rafting. Opportunities they just would not have had before.
Having dug into this Walmart research a lot, one of the things that you hear people say about Walmart is, well, yes, they're providing these low prices, they're helping us save money now, but that's just until they drive out all the competition. And then they're going to raise prices, and that community is going to regret Walmart being there. Is there much evidence for Walmart behaving this way in anything you've looked at?
There's absolutely no evidence to that. Why would Walmart do that?
Yeah.
They would drive themselves out of business.
That's right.
And it wouldn't make sense.
Through that same creative destruction process,
Absolutely.
right? So if they then raise prices, Target or some other
will cut prices,
yes.
and they will drive Walmart out of business, just like Walmart drove Kmart out of business. It's just the cycle of businesses, the cycle of life.
Now let's talk a little bit about their effect then on small businesses. You say there's no statistically significant evidence that they're driving small businesses out. Is there evidence that they're actually encouraging small businesses? Because that's part of your story in this slide, is that they're actually encouraging business formation.
Absolutely. What we see is that the rate of self-employment and the number of Walmart stores throughout time have equally increased. If the previous public policies analysis was true, that would be totally opposite. We would see small businesses going down, not upward as we see in this graph. So right now, over time, we see number of Walmarts grow, so does the self-employment rate. That's great. And then when we narrow this down to looking at it in 1 year of time, the line's totally straight. The number of small businesses and the number of Walmarts in a community, there's absolutely no statistical change. And that's because of the creative destruction process. There is no net change on small businesses when a Walmart comes. Now there is a change. Their direct competitors are going to go out of business, but new, different businesses are going to come in instead. And in fact, when we look at small establishments with 1 to 4 employees and small establishments with 5 to 9 employees, something our referees wanted us to include, it actually is positive. When Walmart comes to town, more of these businesses are able to open.
And so this is a good measure then of small businesses, your number of employees, 0 to 4 employees, 5 to 9 employees.
Yes.
That captures what it means to be running a small business, essentially.
We believe that is a good definition of a small business, and self-employment rate as well.
So a lot of cities really don't want a Walmart. They have city councils that push back and say we're going to keep Walmart out. Some states pass legislation to really come down on Walmart. I'm reminded of the state of Maryland, where they were going to make it mandatory to have health insurance on any company with like more than, I don't know, 10,000 workers or something, and it was only Walmart. Your research is cutting against that and saying communities may want to just embrace Walmart and encourage, not subsidize them coming to town, but at least not make it difficult for them to come, because it's going to be a benefit.
Absolutely. Let the market work the way it wants to work. Embrace Walmart. Don't fight against it. Now, we can understand why politicians may want to, because that's how they're going to get votes, and that's because that's what the general public feels. But we just need to educate the public and let them know that Walmart is not evil. Walmart is not bad. It's going to make you live better.
The benefits from Walmart then are going to be just more products in a community,
Absolutely.
lower prices,
More savings.
More savings, more employment.
Mm-hmm.
How would your critics respond to this idea then? More employment, not just at Walmart, but more employment in the community as well. What would folks say in response to this? It seems like a pretty good deal to me.
You know, I do too.
Yeah.
They might tug at the heartstrings and say,
Mm-hmm.
but what about those poor mom and pops that
Mm-hmm.
are going to go out of business? Well, you know,
Yeah.
that's a shame, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how the market works. And what you have to counter that argument is, yeah, but what about those entrepreneurs that now get to flourish
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't have before? It's just creative destruction. Some businesses go out, but better ones come in.
You know, we hear folks talk about this with respect to, say, free trade, that free trade is going to displace jobs, but it's going to create a lot more value for the economy and create greater employment overall. Free trade is going to drive down prices. You don't want to hold on to protected workers, say, in Detroit. It'd be much better to allow cars to be produced wherever they can most cheaply be produced and allow the market to work. But in the free trade literature, there's all of this commentary on how you have to do something with those who are displaced. Would you recommend doing anything like that, or is
No.
it just going to slow down
touch
the
it.
process? Don't leave it alone.
Leave it alone. Yes, they are going to be displaced,
Mhm.
but with the money people are able to save
Mhm.
by purchasing products that are able to be produced more efficiently
Mhm.
wherever else that may be, more jobs are going to be created. It's just not going to be in the car industry.
Mhm.
It'll just be in some other industry where people are able to specialize better in America.
Mhm.
And those workers can happily go find jobs there then.
It seems to me that the lesson of Walmart is something that extends to other big stores then too. If Home Depot, you didn't look at this at all, but the logic seems very similar. Folks are bothered by Home Depot because you lose that traditional hardware store. You know,
Right.
people are bothered by you know, a Best Buy coming to town because you lose the you know, the video retail and television retail. I'm assuming that the effect, though, is probably this mixed effect of, yes, some people who had traditionally been servicing an area are now gone from it, but there's
But now
this
they get
big,
to go
big
to the
benefit.
theater on
Yes,
Saturdays.
That's right.
Yes, because
Yeah.
they have more money to do so, and the entrepreneurs were allowed to create that new business.
Yeah. You get a much greater predictability with your product too. When you're shopping at a Walmart or at a Best Buy or at a Home Depot,
Right.
you know what you're getting, as opposed to something that, you know, at a small place, you might get better service, but you might not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is really fascinating research that you've put together, and it's an important contribution to the center that we're thrilled to have you on as a staff member and helping us in a number of important ways. This Great Books program that you're doing and helping us run this fall is extremely important in raising the overall quality of Troy University, and something that was due almost entirely to you. To have you also familiar with economic arguments like the case for Walmart and you know, some of your other research on the domino effect across different countries is just an extra blessing. We have about a minute left. Can you tell us a little bit about the Apgar Grant and what we're going to do in the fall with that?
Sure, sure. One of the great things about my job now is that I get to apply this economic research, this economic understanding to the students here. And one of the things that we were able to do is we got a grant, and we're going to create a Apgar reading group where 12 students are going to be invited to participate. And they're going to read some of the great books in this literature. Tocqueville's Democracy in America. We're going to throw some Mises, some Hayek in there, maybe even some Shakespeare. We just really want to give them the opportunity to embrace these life-changing books. And I'm just so glad that Apgar has joined with us in providing this opportunity to them.
And it's a program that'll be competitive. Students need to apply for
Yeah.
it, and
Students
they'll
will apply
be
for it, and
compensated
they
for
will be.
being involved.
They will
Yeah.
receive a $1,000 stipend
Okay.
for participating, which is a great scholarship opportunity for the students as well. So not only are they enhancing their knowledge, they get to pad their wallet a little bit too.
And you're going to be the point of contact on this?
Yes.
There will be applications
I will
going
be.
out.
We will
I
have-
should know this, being that it's,
We
it's
will have-
my center too, but
We will have applications going out this summer for all interested students. So visit our webpage, kids.
that's right. It's really great to have you as a colleague, as an employee, and also as just a mind who's adding value to our center and to the free market movement in general. Thank you for being on the show, too.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to be here. What a great opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in tonight. Good night.